they get so stressed, or they don't know anything else but being the provider. And then if they can't provide, or if like even, I mean, I even see that with my dad as well. I think that he really felt like, well, what is the use of me anymore? You know what I mean? Like, I have a family, my family now has a family. And, you know, I mean, of course, I don't really know what was going on in his head, but I definitely think that, you know, there was also this sort of, yeah, he was a man like that. Like I'm a big man, and I'm a proud man, and I'm, you know, and it's more and more, I feel like, yeah, we're all living beings with feelings and emotions and souls and spirits, and, you know, like we're all going through this. It's not just women, or, you know, it's so I'm glad to hear also that that, you know, this is being shared. We've got to talk about this, you know, for sure. Because even eating disorders are always like, oh yeah, women. It's like, I know so many men who also had eating disorders.
Totally. One of my exes legit had an eating disorder.
Yeah.
He was bulimic.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it. I was just like, you know, I caught him throwing up one day, and I was just like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, are you okay? You know, like,
yeah.
like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And he was just like, I just ate too much. And I'm just like, what? Like,
yeah.
what do you mean you ate too much? I'm just like, you know, and he was just like this uber fit surfer guy, you know, and I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
it seems to be more hidden, you know, like, and that's not okay.
Of course. You know? Yeah. Well, that's not, men don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we have these like labels and assumptions that we put on, you know, the genders and the races and like all this stuff. And it's not like, I was reading this book, it's called The Body. I don't know who wrote it. Forget.
I'll check it and put it in the show notes. Yeah.
It's just, basically he starts with the guy, he starts with the skin and he works his way in, and he talks about, you know, the skin, and then he goes to the organs, and it's just kind of like, this is what they do, this is how they work. It's kind of interesting. But when he talked about the skin, he was saying, like, in skin color and stuff, he was talking about this one doctor or whatever that was, you know, dissecting the layers of the epidermis or something, and she took this very fine scalpel and like sliced off, you know, the very top that was so thin it was you could see through it, and that was the amount of stuff that made us up, that colored your skin. It's such like a minuscule amount of what makes us up, and we, you know, like, it's such a big deal.
Yeah, it's funny, right? We judge.
You know what I mean? Like it makes absolutely no sense. Like, if you look at the science behind it, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's this, like, you could physically scratch it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's really
a minuscule thing, and we make such a big deal out of it, you know? It's crazy. Yeah, it really is insane. And another thing that I was thinking, because today I was speaking to a friend of mine, Magali, she's a really close friend. She also runs a studio called Jivamukti Yoga Luxembourg. And she said this to me before, and I was really wondering how you felt about this, because for me it was a little bit like, oh, yeah, maybe, I hope so. But she was mentioning, like, don't you think, Caro, that especially now through Corona, that more and more people want to eat healthy and want to know about the plant-based diet and want to have, you know, all the workshops that I, of course, give also as a chef and stuff. And do you think that is that happening in the US? Do you think it's happening in the world? I mean, I hope so, but
I totally hope so. It's a good question. Statistically, I would say yes. So yeah, I mean, you know, you have to realize, like, you and I aren't like normal people, you know what I mean? Like, it's our in a good way, in the best way, you know,
best way possible. Exactly.
Yeah, the best way possible. Like, where, you know, this is our business to kind of encourage people to think about these things. So that kind of happens on the regular, you know, like I had one of my girlfriends the other night, we were out to dinner, and, you know, it was one of our pods, you know, we all went out to dinner because it was my girlfriend's birthday, and she told the whole group, she was just like, you know, I'm not vegan or anything. She's like, but since knowing Vanessa, she's like, I definitely eat less meat. She's like, I'm definitely like so much more aware of, like, you know, like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
which is like, that's the best I can ask for. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, just like, be aware.
Yeah.
But like, I bought stock in Beyond Meat the second that I could, like every, company that is making and encouraging, this whole process. I'm just like, whatever money I have, I'm just like, here,
You have
I'm
it,
like,
have it, go
I'm
for
like,
it.
work it out, keep going,
Yeah.
So there's definitely more awareness, which is huge.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that no matter how many times that they're shown and how many times that they're talked to, are never going to change. But I think that there is enough people in that gray area that it's, that are totally open to having the conversation, changing their lifestyle. And even if it's not becoming fully vegan, at least making a change that will make a difference in animals' lives.
Exactly. Also what you're mentioning. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the video that I posted a couple weeks ago about this TED Talk that I watched. And it was quick. It was like this 15-minute blurb, and it caught my eye because it said like, I should be vegetarian or something like that. So I was just like, oh, what's this? Listen to it. And the guy was just like, listen, guys, he's just like, knowing everything that I know. He's like, I'm fully aware of how horrible factory farming is. I'm fully aware that of what it does to the environment. I'm fully like, he's just like, I should be a vegetarian. He's like, I should be vegan, if not at least vegetarian. He's like, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes, but this is what I do. He's just like, I'm, vegetarian, vegan during the week. And he's just like, and on the weekends, he's like, I don't think about it or whatever. And where, like, honestly, Caro, and you may feel the same way. And I know there's a lot of vegans out there that feel this way, that it's kind of like, you're vegan or you're not. Yeah. Either you're with me or you're not. Yeah. Either you're on board with killing animals or you're not. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I get that. And I have been that very binary attitude up until I heard this man talk. Like, honestly, like my girlfriend that I've been trying to get vegan for years, she's like, it's just the cheese, Vanessa, the cheese, Vanessa. And I just wanted to like choke her. I'm like, would you stop with the cheese? Like, Jesus, just stop. Like, my head explodes, But I'm like, what this guy said was just like, look, he's like, when it comes to, making these positive changes, saving these animals' lives, helping, reboot the environment, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. You know what I mean? So, it's like that story on the beach, that I always use, the man's walking down the beach with his son, and it's full of, starfish. And he's just like, I can't do it. There's too much, and the dad was just like, I can save this one and I can save this one. And it makes a difference. And that's the way that, like, I'm going to look at this moving forward, because, just like when it comes to like sexual identity, like, life is not black and white. Yeah. Life is this shade of gray or colors or whatever, and if you can get 100 people to go vegan during the week, that's huge. Well, and it's already a change, right? Like, I, of course, would think like, man, if only he also just does it on the weekend. But he's making a change, because, 5 days a week is already, I mean, there's people who do it like twice a week or something, so it's still better than no days a week. And at that very dinner, and I think it's up to us vegans to not be dicks about it. Yeah. Like, I have been known to be a dick about it. And I get it. Like, that's because that's my belief system. Like, at my core, I am like, either you're with me or not. Like, that's the center of my being is like, you're either killing animals or you're not. Like, however, when it comes to dealing with society and other people as a whole, like, that's not the way they think. And I can't judge them for that. I was not born vegan. It was a process for me. Like, I used to eat animals I used to eat all of them. Yeah. All of them. Yeah. And so the woman next to me, she said, like, I'm so much more aware. The woman on my other side said, because it's probably the same with you. Everybody needs to talk about being vegan when Vanessa's in the room, even though I don't bring it up, like I say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The woman next to me, it was just like, I went vegan for like 6 months. I felt so much better, and I'm just like, so what happened?
Yeah, exactly. Where is this going?
I'm like, so what happened? And she was just like, it was just so hard, when we went out to dinner and, like this whole big thing. And I'm like, even though my core was just like, oh, I looked at her and I go, look, I said, how about just working it that way? She's like, it was so easy to cook at home. My kids were on board with it. It was totally fine. I go, so do that then. I said, be vegan at home. I said, and when you go out to dinner, go out to dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still saving lives.
Yeah. And probably, if 80% of the time you are at home anyway, you're making a huge difference. Yeah. No, but that's, it's really good what you're saying. Yeah.
She looked at me and she was just like,
what a relief.
Thank you for being okay with that. Like, basically, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because they always look at, like, we're these, like, vegan queens that everybody, like, looks at, like, and I'm not perfect. Yeah. Like, I'm not the vegan perfect person. Like, I'm not, it's not possible. In this world, it's not possible to be perfect vegan. Mm-hmm. You can be your best. So if your best is doing it 5 days a week, if your best is doing 2 days a week, if your best is blah, 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 at least you're doing something. Like, my best is Vanessa and Caro's best is here. Yeah. Your best might be here, but you're still doing something. You're still aware of what you're doing. And fingers crossed, best case scenario, as time goes on, your best gets to be a little bit more because you're a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. And as you're going through this process, even if you never in your life go fully vegan, if you're aware of what you're doing and you actively try to keep it to a minimum, that's worth your time and energy. Yeah. Instead of just throwing your hands up at it and be like, meh, it's not worth it because, I can't be perfect. I'm not even going to try. Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people have that attitude. And I think that we need to give non-vegan people and non-vegetarian people, like, give them a judgment-free zone to do the work. Yeah. Because I think people that aren't vegan or vegetarian or whatever, it's very easy for them to just get angry at us and be like, go screw yourself. I'm going to go over here and eat a steak. Because it becomes confrontational. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the confrontation is the issue. Mm-hmm. And I'm not scared of confrontation. Mm-hmm. However, when it comes to dealing with someone's food choices, it's so primal and it's so rooted in everything that they believe from the day that they were born. Yeah. It's a very complicated process of, unfolding and understanding. And it's this whole big thing. It's not, some people can flip a switch. Like my ex-husband, he flipped a switch. He watched Earthlings and he was just like, I'm out of this. Yeah. It's a big switch also. He's like, I'm out. I'm vegan now. Like, that's it, but they're like the people that can smoke for 20 years and then go cold turkey. Like, there aren't many of them people out there. Like, those are the extreme people, for most people, it's this process. And we as, vegan, forerunners or whatever you want to call us, we need to learn to be more understanding and more okay to meet people where they're at.
Yeah, I think that's a good point what you're saying as well. Like, don't be a dick, don't be a Nazi. Like, people will get there on their own sort of.
And
like,
they are. Clearly they are. Yeah, which is awesome.
It's still an awakening moment, I feel. What you just said about this lady in dinner and the guy also on the TED Talk. I mean, he's had this. He knows all of it. Like, he's had his awakening moment. He just chose to do it this way. Right. So I just wonder, these people
need to know that we're not hating on them.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
when we're hating on them, it's easier for them to be like, whatever, dude.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?